Hi, in this short video we are going to show you the updated features of DiscoMan. We've added a certificates feature. At the same time, we've also added a new feature that allows you to upload the firmware of your lamps via DiscoMan. So without further ado, if we click refresh, you'll see that we have 4 lamps on the network. We also now have a status message column that is currently telling us that we have an unsupported firmware for HTTPS. What we would need to do is change these 2.5 firmwares to our latest. If we were to select a few of these and try to upload the firmware straight away, we would see a bad credentials task status. The new feature of DiscoMan is access, where we provide the admin credentials of the lamps to allow us to use config, certificates, credentials, and firmware upload features. Addressing and naming are the unauthenticated features of DiscoMan. The others require admin credentials. Previously, with config, we would allow this to be used with default credentials, and then once you'd set the credentials on the lamp, you could no longer use the config feature. Now that we have certificates and they can expire, it's imperative that you can actually go back in to renew your certificates. So what we got now, if we go into access, we get this dialog here. So if we supply the credentials for these lamps, you'll see that's all went through all right there. And we can also specify HTTP ports and HTTPS ports if people have moved them from the defaults. It's important to note that this doesn't set the credentials on the lamp, but rather it supplies them to DiscoMan to allow it to do its features. So if we now click refresh, we'll see that access is showing us the green LED here. This will retain for one run of DiscoMan. If you were to close DiscoMan, it would then go grey again and you need to supply the credentials once more. So let's just upload our new firmware. So if we go back to where we were before and click on hybrid and click play all tasks. If you look in the background here, you'll see that the firmware upgrade's been requested. It takes around 10 seconds to upload the files. Once it's successfully uploaded the file, you will see a green highlighted task, and in the background you'll see the countdown start from 1 minute. Once your 2 tasks here are green, you can close the dialog and wait for these to complete. At this time, the buttons at the top of DiscoMan are grayed out apart from about, and you have to wait for that just to go through. Now that both firmware updates are complete, you'll see all buttons are available again, and we can click refresh. You'll then see that we have firmware 3.7.1 on both hybrid lamps there, and we're just going to do the same for our single wavelength, which is a different file, so we'll have to do that separately. And we'll do the same as before, and if you keep an eye on the status message, you will see the firmware upgrade is being requested. Once both of these have gone green, we can then close that again and we just wait for the firmware update to complete. Now that the firmware update is complete, all buttons become available once more and we can hit refresh. So our single wavelength lamps have just come back online. You'll see with the hybrids that we are now seeing a status message stating HTTPS error, certificate not trusted. The default certificate is a self-signed certificate which isn't trusted by your machine. So our next step is to use the certificates feature. We may just need to hit refresh a few times for our lamp 1 and 2 to come back, and they are now showing the same status message. So although we had to do the firmware upload separately for hybrid and our single wavelength, we can do all the certificates at once. Through the certificates dialog, you have 2 options. You can become your own root certificate authority through DiscoMan by generating a root CA, or if you have one already, then you can import the files for that. You require a certificate and private key file. It's important that your certificate authority uses ECDSA encryption with 256-bit private keys. This is done by default when using DiscoMan's generate root certificate authority, but just make sure that if you are bringing your own, then you need to have ECDSA with 256-bit private keys, and your files need to be in DER format, which is a format that can be converted to from various others. For our purposes, we are going to become our own root certificate authority. So certificate validity can range from 1 week to 10 years. We default to 1 year, so we'll stick with the defaults. So we hit generate, and then it asks us to export before we can create the tasks. So if we select where we want to be, so if we just go to we can just put this on our desktop and go to the certificates file. And those will be exported. So we see 2 green LEDs. We hit create tasks, and this will tell us that our certificates will be valid until the 15th of May next year. So we run them through. They've all completed successfully. So we close the dialog and we'll hit refresh. Again, like the firmware upload, the lamp has to restart after a certificate upload. So it may just take a few hits of your refresh button there just to get that green state LED. Now, we're still seeing a HTTPS error, certificate not trusted. This is because we haven't actually installed the certificate not trusted root certificate folder on this machine. So if we were to open the certificates folder, you'll see that we have a certificate and key DER files here that we were asked to export to allow us to actually upload the certificate to the lamp. So if we double click on the certificate, we will see that we have the Raytec lamp CA, which is valid from today to the 15th next year. If we click on install certificate, click local machine, we then click place all certificates in the following store, and we want our trusted root certification authorities. Click next, and finally finish. This will tell us that the import was successful, and we can close the dialog. After this, we click refresh in DiscoMan, and we now get the status message telling us that the HTTPS certificate expires on the 15th of the 5th, and this tells us that we have a valid certificate. If we then double click on any one of these lamps, you will see that you have the lock at the top to say the connection is secure, and then going to the certificate, you'll see it's the Raytec lamp CA. So you now have secure communications, whether using the web interface or if you choose to use our HTTP API. And that is all the changes. Thank you for listening.